Hi everyone, I'm Carol Keller, Independent Stampin' Up demonstrator from Antioch, Illinois in the United States. And today I have a project for you as part of our global SU vlog hop, where we have teamed up with demonstrators from around the world to provide projects for you every month on our YouTube channels. The way it works is you watch the first video, whether it's mine or someone else's, and then click on the link in the description to hop to the next person until you get all the way back around to where you started. Our theme for this month is calendars. So I hope you like my project. I really had a lot of fun designing it. It was a little bit more challenging than just doing a card or a scrapbook page, but really fun, and I hope you enjoy it. So I'm going to turn my camera around so that we can get started. Here is our calendar project for today. And I'm showing it to you sideways. It sits up like this on an easel that we're going to make. And it has 6 panels, and you'll see there are months on both sides. So the idea is that you flip every month until you get to June, and then you turn it over, and then you flip the rest for the rest of the year. So that is the idea, and those are all the panels that I've done. So we'll start off with some directions, and I'm going to move this out of the way because we need the workspace. We're going to start off with some cardboard or chipboard, and I've already pre-cut it. Oh, and I should say first, we are featuring this wonderful Days to Remember stamp set for this calendar. Wait till you see how much fun it is to use. I really have had a lot of fun working with this, and it is kind of a lot of work, but the payoff is really nice. I love how it turned out. So we're going to start off with some chipboard. I have 2 pieces that are 5 inches by 6 inches or 12.8 centimeters by 15.4 centimeters. And then I have another one that's 2 1/4 inches by 5 inches or 5.5 centimeters by 12.8 centimeters. And we're going to cover them with, I chose black cardstock. You can pick obviously whatever color you would like. So I'm going to do one to show you, but I'm going to show you what I cut first. So you have 2 pieces of cardstock, whatever color you decide, and you're going to cut those 1 inch bigger all around, or 2.5 centimeters about bigger all around. So these are 6 inches by 7 inches or 15.4 centimeters by 17.8. And then for the small piece, to cover the small piece, this one is 3 1/4 inches by 6 or 8.4 centimeters by 15.4. And you also need 2 panels, 2 pieces of cardstock, and these are just a shade smaller than 5 inches by 6 inches or 12.8 centimeters by 15.4. We're going to use this to cover what we have wrapped around, which I'll show you in a minute. And then we also need one at just a shade under 2 1/4 inches by 5 or 5.5 centimeters by 12.8. And then last but not least, 2 pieces, 1 inch by 5 inches or 2.6 centimeters by 12.8 centimeters. I'm going to move most everything out of the way, and I'm going to show you how to cover all 3 of these chipboard pieces. And I just used the cardboard that comes in a pack of Designer Series paper, so nothing fancy at all. So the first thing I'm going to do is put some, I think I'll use that as, yeah, this is the back. I'm going to put some adhesive on the back of this. So I'm just using some Stamp and Seal. I got a brand new one here, so I've got to get it started. And we're going to just center it on the cardstock. And then next I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut a little corner. And this is a little crooked, but it really doesn't matter because we're going to cover it. So you're going to cut that little corner out. And now I'm going to bring in my tear and tape. So we want the strongest adhesive we can use. And we're going to put that on all 4 sides. And I've got my paper piercer of my Take Your Pick tool to take off the paper. And we're just going to fold them over and burnish a little bit. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other 2 pieces of chipboard and be right back. So now we have our 3 pieces with the backs covered. And they are going to fit like this to make the stand for our calendar. And we are going to put sheets on this side to cover them over, to cover the rest of the chipboard. But first, we need 2 pieces of cardstock, the 2 pieces that are cut at 1 inch by 5 inches or 2.6 centimeters by 12.8 centimeters. And we're going to first bring in my trimmer and we're going to score them right in the middle. So at 1/2 inch or 1.3 centimeters. And now we're going to put some more tear and tape on each side of the score line. Now that we've done that, we are going to assemble the pieces. So we're going to fold on the score lines. And we're going to take off the paper from our adhesive. And now we're going to match them up. So I'm going to lay this piece right up against the score line. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And then the same thing with the second one. Give them a good burnish. And now we have the outside of our stand, and the inside is then just going to be covered with the other pieces of cardstock that we cut like this. So I'm going to just bring in my Stampin' Seal again. And I will do the rest off camera and be right back. So now we have our stand completely covered, and it will go like this. So the next thing we have to do is make holes that are going to hold the jump rings and each of the sheets of our calendar. So for me, I have used our toolkit that Stampin' Up! Does not sell anymore. So you need to find something with the chipboard, something that's very sturdy to make the hole that's going to go all the way through. So you can use a crocodile, or I will show you what I used, which is again tools from our old kit. First thing we're going to do is mark them. So I'm going to mark the top of each one, 1.5 inches in from each side. And about 1/2 inch down. And I will give you the metric measurements. So you mark it at 1.5 and 3.5 and about 1/2 inch down. And I am going to measure this because, well, that's actually pretty darn good on that side. Okay, and they're both about 1/2 inch down. You want the measurements to be exact. So in centimeters, that is about 1.3 centimeters down. And you'll make your marks at about 3.8 centimeters and 8.9 centimeters. And just make sure you do the same thing on both sides. So we're going to mark again. and then we'll make the holes. If you are using this tool, make sure to clean out the cardboard from here with, I used another tool that's in the kit, and because otherwise it will build up and then not work as well. All right, so we've got our base and we've got our holes that match up, and now we're going to work on the actual elements of the calendar. So I'm going to put this aside. So now you need 6 pieces of cardstock that are cut at 5 inches by 6 inches. And this is just basic white cardstock, or in centimeters, it is 12.8 centimeters by 15.4 centimeters. And the reason we have 6, like I said, is we're going to cover both sides. And then I also have 12 sheets of designer series paper that I picked out, 1 for each month. The designer series paper is cut at 4 3/4 inches by 5 3/4, so that it creates, there's a mat around it. And in centimeters, 12.1 by 14.6. And then we're just going to put those on. But the way I did it, and I've done most of them except these 2, is I have covered them on both sides. And so I want you to show you the process that I used for that. So let me double check so I can make my calendar the same way. Yes. All right, so this is how I did it. I started actually from December on this one just because the designer series paper was lined up that way, the opposite. So I covered the one for December, November, October, September, August, and July. And then you're going to flip them over, and on the opposite of December is January and February and March and April. And then this one's going to go on for May. So obviously I have these planned out in advance. You can use the same designer series paper. You can use, for each one, or you can use different ones. I did kind of spend a lot of time thinking about what I wanted to use based on the season of the year and that kind of thing. And then the last one for June. And if the papers are directional, obviously pay attention to that. And then we have July through December on one side, and we have January through June on the other side. So now, before we put the calendars on, I punched the holes in these so that I could make sure that I accounted for them when I laid out my calendar. And I did it 3 at a time. If you are just using a traditional hole punch, then you probably want to do them just 1 at a time, because with 3 layers, it's a little bit thick. But I'm going to use my tool again. And this time, I laid it out. I laid them out where I know they're going to fall on the calendar, and then marked it. Filled it in so I know right where to punch. You could also measure again. In fact, I think I will make sure that the measurements are correct. And again, it's 1/2 inch from the top. Yep. And 1.5 and 3.5. And it's from end to end, not just the designer series paper, but you're going by the basic white. And then we'll do the same thing with the other 3. But I found this was easier. I just measured to double check. It is easier, as long as you make sure everything is lined up, to set them this way. There we go. And mark again. And double check. This one I would say is off just a little bit, and make sure. And then a 1/2 inch down. Okay. And then I'm going to punch my holes again and be right back. All right, so now we have our calendar pages all ready to go with designer series paper for each of the 12 months and holes to put them in the base. And I do want to say one thing too. The nice thing about this base being so nice and sturdy is that you can, at the end of the year, simply take off the months that you've already done and do new ones, and you can use the same stand. You don't have to make a new one. That's the other reason for using a neutral color, whether it's black, white, gray. So keep that in mind as well. So the next thing we're going to do is some stamping. I have done most of the months already, and I'm going to show you with a couple of them how to do it. And you do need to take just a little bit of care for the months that don't have 31 days. Months with 31 days, very easy. So I'm going to do 2. I'm going to do, I believe, September and October, as I have done the other months. In fact, I'm certain of it. So September and October we're going to do. I'm going to do October first, and I'm doing both of them in Misty Moonlight because that coordinates with the designer series paper I chose. So I'm going to bring in the Misty Moonlight. And here is the stamp from the calendar set. And it looks big and long, and what do we do? It's confusing, that kind of thing. Well, the first thing that I did was I looked at the calendar for 2022, and I wrote down which day of the month each month starts on. So for example, January 1st starts on a Saturday. And that tells you which section you're going to use. And the beauty of this stamp set is that you don't have to mask off the extra numbers except for the 31st, or in February, the 29th, 30th, and 31st, because a month fits exactly on our ink pad. So I'm going to show you that. So for October, I know that it also starts on a Saturday. So what that means, and you do have your choice in this stamp set of starting your week on Sunday or on Monday. There are 2 different stamps. I chose to start mine on Sunday. So I know the first is a Saturday, which means it's at the opposite end. And all you have to do is lay the calendar directly on the ink pad, and the width of the ink pad perfectly matches the width of 1 month of the calendar. So all I have to do, I know that the first is a Saturday, so that's going to be on the right-hand side. And I lay it down. I know that October has 31 days. So I ink it up. And these calendar pieces are 3 inches by 2.5 inches, or 7.7 centimeters by 6.5. And I'm just going to stamp it toward the bottom. And just like that, just as easily as that, we have our months, or our dates, I should say, for October, excuse me. And now I have my stamp that starts on Sunday. And that's next. So we kind of work from the bottom up. Like I said, you can use Monday. You just alter then. If that were the case, then you would move over where you put the stamp on the ink pad. So let me show that too, just to be clear. If you were starting your week and using the other stamp and going Monday to Sunday, with Saturday being the first, you would want the first and the second on this side of the calendar. And so you would simply hold it here. And so this row would be stamped and this row would not, and it would still match up and be exactly the right dates for that month. I'm telling you, it is phenomenal how it works. And then last but not least, we're going to put the month on, which is October. And we'll ink that up and stamp it at the top. And there we have it. There is our calendar for the month of October. And again, I'm going to show you September because I want to show you how to do it where we don't use all the numbers. So the first thing I have to do even though I'm using the same ink pad, is I have to clean the stamp. Or actually, I take that back. I don't have to clean the stamp because I'm only going to have on there what I need. Now for September of 2022, the 1st is a Thursday. So for my calendar, I need Thursday, I need 1, 2, and 3, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, on the right-hand side of the stamp. So hopefully this makes sense. But I also need to mask off the 31st because there is no September 31st. It only goes till the 30th. So I'm just going to take, I've got a sticky note here, and I'm just going to cut off part of the sticky end. And you want to have a really small piece. I used a kind of a large piece to begin with, and it's too heavy and it falls off. So you want just a little piece that's sticky that's going to cover up the numbers. So since I'm using this part and the 31st is here, that's what I'm going to cover up. Hopefully it will stick. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I know that I need the 3rd is a Saturday, so I need up to that row. And again, that's the month right in there, the month of October. I don't have to worry about what I inked before. Oh, I do have to worry about it. I'm going to take that back. You do want to clean your stamp in between because you don't want straight ink on here. It may not matter, it may not show, but it may. So I am going to wipe that off. And so you do want to clean your stamp in between. And the other thing you want to remember is once it's inked, to take off that sticky note, because look, there's lots of ink on there and you don't want that on your project. So I am going to make sure that ink is off of there, and then we should be fine. That's why it's called my business is Carol's Inky Fingers. So now we have inked up just what we need that will correspond with the month of October, with the month of September. Beautiful. See, and I have a little bit of stray ink here, but that I can wipe off. That is easy. Same as before then, the next thing we do is the days of the week. And again, I don't have to clean that stamp because I'm using the same color, Misty Moonlight. Make sure it's inked up, and then put that right above. And then last but not least, the month, which is September. Ink it up. That looks pretty good, I think. And then we stamp. So that is how you do the calendars. So again, I do recommend inking in between cleaning in between, whether you use the same ink or different ones, just for what I said. You don't want stray numbers on your calendar because it is a little bit wider. You know, I could have cut it down a little more, but I didn't want to do that. So you don't want those stray pieces. And then you make sure you take off your mask if you need one, your little sticky note, because you don't want that to interfere. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put each month, now that we have the holes there and everything, I'm going to put each month on the Designer Series paper. You can see I had a little boo-boo. So we're going to make sure we use the right one. I had a little bit of ink on my fingers and it got a little messy and a little bit of a shadow. So that was attempt number 1. So I would say to be patient. And now I am pretty much, even with the holes, I'm pretty much going to center it. And that's all you do is put one on each. I am going to do that, assemble all of them, and be right back. All right, and I want to show you too, actually. So you turn each one over, and I just went in order. So this is February. We're going to put that one on. See, another little boo-boo. That one I forgot to do. I had the 29th on there, and it's not a leap year. So trust me, learn from my mistakes. And then we're going to do all of them. And then when you get to June, which is this one, and then you turn over, then you start here July and work back to December. So I will do that off camera and be right back. All right, so now the only thing I have left to do is embellish each of the pages. You can leave them like this. I think they're really pretty, but I decided to add embellishments. So for example, for January, I cut some snowflakes from vellum, and I did put adhesive sheets on the back. This one actually has adhesive sheet on about half because that one shows less, the adhesive sheet, instead of using something like a glue dot, which will show more. And then these have adhesive on the back as well on most of them. So I'm just going to peel them just to give you a little bit of an idea of what you can do to embellish. And then this one, I can get started on this side, I think, right here. And that's what I'm going to do for January. The other thing that I did do for this one was add some Wink of Stella. So I just added it on the vellum parts like this, just to give it a little bit of sparkle. So I will finish that later. And then, so sometimes I had something on both sides. For February, I used the double heart punch, and there's actually a heart that comes in the stamp set. That's the little one I took right from the stamp set. There are flowers, or a flower, a star, and some balloons, and some strings for the balloons. And then the other thing is there's a little circle stamp. So if you are making this for someone and you know some of their special days, birthdays and whatnot, you could use that to circle them for each month. I may do that for my husband. And so for this one, I'm just going to put it at the bottom with my Stampin' Seal. And then that will be finished. I think we'll tilt it a little bit, give it a little interest. And so like I said, I did something on every month. And then once you've done that, or you really could do it even afterwards if you wanted to, but once you've done that, because it is a little easier to do it first, you're going to bring in that base that you made. And I purchased some jump rings just on Amazon, and mine are multicolored. I also bought a box of silver ones, so whatever your preference is, we could use black, we could use white. And then you're going to open the jump rings, and it's easy to assemble everything. And you want to just make sure you want both of these at the back to start so that your calendar sits in the front. So I just put the jump rings through these holes, and then we're going to add the pages, the calendar pages. And I just did one at a time. It went through really easily because hopefully if you've lined up your holes correctly, whoops, that will happen, is that will pull right through, and then you just close them. And our calendar is done. So again, I'll bring in the finished one more time, just so that I can show you what the finished pages will look like, to give you some ideas. And I will put in the description all of the materials that I use, the designer series papers, because I used from several different packs, like I said earlier, different inks and the different embellishments. So for January, I did the snowflakes. February has the punches and the little heart stamp, like I said. March, well, sometimes, like I said, there was something just in one corner, and sometimes something in both corners. So I wanted to add just a little bit more to them, but I also didn't want to go crazy with embellishments either, because as you saw, it takes a little bit of time to assemble everything. So, and there's June, I used the tulip punch, and then we get to July, we turn it over, and I cut out some more hearts, and this one, the next couple have the peaches. Oh, maybe it was just that one. And for September, so a little bit that, you know, matches up with the designer series paper in some way. And this one, I just wanted something with pumpkins. And then November, the leaves. I really like this. I die cut the tree branch and the leaves from, I believe, a couple of different die sets, but like I said, I'll put that in the description. And then for December, the pine cones to match the paper. So you can do that. You don't have to. The other idea I had, and I decided against it, you could also ink around the edges a little bit. But I wanted to make the calendar a little more prominent since that's the use of this is the calendar. But you could also ink the edges and just soften it up a little bit. And like I said earlier, you can use the same designer series paper throughout. You can use different, totally make it your own. But that is the project. Thanks so much for joining me today. I think I will leave it so you can see it. Thanks for joining me and joining all of us on our global vlog hop. We really appreciate you watching. It means a lot to us. If you have positive comments, feel free to make them and put them in the comments. We love seeing those too. Join us at the end of every month, or sometimes a little late like this month at the beginning of the next month, but that's okay. We will bring you lots of wonderful ideas. So we hope you keep coming back. If you see anything that you just love, contact your demonstrator and she will help you to order whatever you need to do your own projects. If you don't have a demonstrator, please contact me. My channel has scrapbook pages and cards and home decor items like this. Lots of fun things. I do paper pumpkin alternatives every month. So there's lots to find inspiration from. So thank you again, everyone, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.